Hello, hello, hello. Thank you again for tuning into Choices Now TV. It's been a while since I've been on. Some things have happened in my life personally, and I want to take some time off. So let's get right into what we're going to talk about today. The last time that I did speak with you, it was concerning, well, I was finishing up on Medicare, and I said the next topic I would talk about would be how we heal. So today we're just going to hit it and quit it very briefly. I thank you for taking the time out of your schedule just to tune in and listen in and leave comments if you like. If you like this video, if you like more of it, leave a comment. And I'll be working to bring even greater content, that content that's relevant to issues that we're dealing with today. All right, so I appreciate you for this time. So let's get right into it. So I do have some notes here. So I'll be going through my notes just to make sure I stay on track. I did another video a couple of weeks ago, and the editing, it just needed too much editing, and I decided not to post it. But we're going to go through with this today. It will be what it is. So let's start off by saying traumatic events in our lives can leave us with a gaping hole in our soul. There are things that take place in our lives that, things that have happened that we just, it's a tough pill to swallow, as they say. And sometimes we're not able to process it all the things that have happened. We're not able to process it all. I believe mostly that these traumatic events are generational. It passes from one generation to the next. It's constantly things that are going on. And we pass those wounds. We pass that pain, that hurt, unconsciously on to the next generation over and over and over again. How do we stop that pain? How do we break the generational curses? It happens, but we have to be able to stand strong and push forward. And we're going to talk a little bit about how our ancestors did things and how they were able to overcome a lot of them. A lot of them didn't want to deal with the foreseeable future, what they thought would have been their future, so they handled things a different way. From the trauma of slavery to a host of other traumatic events, we will choose to hide them versus confront them and deal with them. About 2006 or so, there was a movement that came up. Tanara Burke, I believe that's how her first name is pronounced. But in 2006, she came out with something called a Me Too movement. It was Me Too. There were some things that were happening to her, and she said, enough is enough. This was happening to me. And she began to tell about it. And as a result of her Me Too statement came a movement. Out of it came a movement. Out of her pain, out of her shame, it became a movement. She became bold in the fact that she wanted to expose the abuse she endured. Today, this movement has grown across the nations. The Me Too movement is a social movement against sexual abuse and sexual harassment, where people publicize allegations of their abuses. Now, it's not just sexual abuses. It's not just sexual harassment. This Me Too movement, although that's what their target is, but this right here can go in a lot of different directions. You can be bold enough to talk about incest. You can be bold enough to talk about rape. You can be bold enough to talk about, just some things, unconscionable things that have happened to you, but out of fear, for whatever reason. We know the reason. You're afraid. You're afraid that they may come back and they may retaliate against you. But we're in a time now that we can speak loud. We can call their names out. Come on, we can call their names out. Let it be what it is. As they say, let the chips fall where they may. The damage has already been done. The hurt has already been done. So for you exposing that enemy, that one that wreaked havoc in your life, that one that caused you so much pain, so much grief, so much turmoil, you became alcoholic, you became a drug addict, your opioid addictions. You know, they talk a lot about opioid addiction, but they were crack addicts, all kind of drugs that people medicated themselves with as a result of these traumatic events that happen in their life. But we're talking about how we heal. How we heal. Being able to openly talk about your pain will start the healing process. Now, this is what I believe. Many years ago, I had some therapy. I went through some therapy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I found that through this therapy, what I took away most was you have to talk about it. Once you talk about it, once you get through that hurt, get through that pain, that embarrassment, you'll begin to heal. You'll begin to feel better when you're able to talk about it. So, being able to release years of pain and trauma that you've covered up, being able just to release that's the start of it now. When you talk about it, you're able to release. It's like you're getting it off your chest. Oh, I'm so glad that I said that. I've been holding this in all these years. You know, I didn't think anybody would believe me. I didn't think, it was worth saying anything because nobody's going to do anything about it. You know what it will do? It's going to take that power and control from that abuser away from them. Now you have control in your hands because now you're no longer afraid of what happened to you or what people may perceive of you. You're no longer afraid. So let me ask this question. How did our ancestors make it through slavery? Can you answer that question? How did our ancestors make it through slavery? Through rape, torture, being separated from families, and working extremely long hours without pay most times. Now that rape was not only just for women, men were being raped too. Yes, men and women. They were resilient and they were relentless in their fight to survive. They were resilient and they were relentless. They say, do whatever you will, I will survive. So do we have our ancestors' DNA that we can stand up and fight, go through all of the pain, all of the hurt, and still come out victoriously? Yes, I encourage you today, you do have that. Healing starts with you. When I said starts with you, come on, let's get a strong mind. And I like to throw my scriptures in there. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Yes, you want to forgive that individual. Yes, you want to forgive yourself. But come on, we're going to talk about some things. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Yes, that is true. But if you don't talk about this thing, it will eat you up on the inside. And you're wondering why you're doing the things that you're doing. Because you never addressed the issue. You never truly took the time to talk about what was going on in your life. You may have had a whole family, a whole family, married, children. Some may have married, divorced, one set of children, the next set of children, another marriage, and you never really talked about the trauma that you endured. You just kind of covered it up and kept on going. And then you wonder why you were having so many issues in your marriage, why your relationships with people just didn't go as you thought they should. That's because things were left unattended to. Healing does take time. It takes time. Time. And what is that time? For some, it may be years. It may be years. And others, it may be a couple of months. It just depends on where you are and how deep that trauma was. At the end of the day, it's your mind. It's what you let to continue to go around in your head. Okay? what you continue to think on, ponder on. We got to get a new mind. We got to get a new mind, new insight. If it takes you cutting off a lot of old friends, a lot of old things that bring back those memories, cut them off. Get your new perspective on life. Get around positive people, people that are doing great things, people that have had heartaches and trauma, and they came through it. How do we heal? We never forget. We never forget what we went through. We will never forget, but our healing process, we can shut down our abusers by putting them, him, her, they on blast. Don't be afraid. Say what it is. I know there are many, like I say, many. There's fear. There's fear. But which is worse? Holding on to the pain or exposing it? Let us have an open conversation and start the healing process. If you're feeling suicidal, let me say that again. If you're feeling suicidal, you don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to be afraid to seek help. And I want to leave this number with you because, and this is the suicide prevention or suicide hotline. It's available 24/7. That number is 1-800-273-8255. If you are, if this trauma is causing you so much pain, so much grief, and you really don't know how to handle it, call the number that I provided. Don't be ashamed. As African Americans, we don't like to talk about what we deal with. We don't like to go to counseling or therapy. For whatever reason, there's a stigma behind it. But I want to encourage you today. It's time to call some things out. Call it out. Call it for what it is. If I